Hey guys, Brandon Woolham hanging out here in Nashville with CCM Magazine, and we've got Laura Story today joining us. How are you?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been a few years since you've been in, and you've been playing all these live shows. You haven't really stopped that, but it's the first time in a long time we get to sit here and say, there's a new song coming out from Laura Story, and it's already out there, actually.
And I feel bad that, that I just kind of took a break from writing music. I mean, I have 4 children, 11 and under, and so it's not like there's all this time where my house is just quiet that I can reflect on the Lord. Yeah, but it really is nice to have some new music out.
Yeah, and this one you had a little bit of help from a few people who've written a few songs over the years.
Yes.
The Gettys helped you out with this one. Talk about how that came about and just the story behind Come Unto Jesus.
Yeah, well, probably the impetus for me trying to write a little bit more, getting music, and a handful of writers are working on a hymnal, which is kind of an exciting thing. If for the younger folks that might be watching, it was this hymns. A hymnal is a collection of songs, Used
to be in that thing you put your phone in now, probably.
That's exactly it. Yeah, and I grew up in the day where they had the hymns on the back of the seat in front of you, and it really is. It'll be available digital as well as in print, but it really is more of a. If you were to ask me what's even the point of a hymnal these days, I think it's really exciting. That there's a group of people wanting to be intentional about what we're singing in our church services. And I've been a worship leader at Perimeter Church for almost 20 years now, which is wild. But I am, every year that I lead worship there and kind of oversee that, the more I am called to really be discerning about what we're singing these days. And so Come Unto Jesus was one of the songs that my friend Matt Merker and Jordan Coughlin and I wrote together. And it was based on an old hymn, but we ended up kind of using the ideas from an older hymn and using it in this new song. But it's still very much in a hymn format. And honestly, the theme of it is from Matthew 11, where Jesus just says, "Come unto me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." And even though it's kind of an older sounding song, there's no more relevant call to people these days than that.
And this new single, you kind of went backwards. You release a live version, an acoustic version, and then you're like, well, let's put out the studio version. Usually it's the studio version first and then the others. Was there ever a plan to put out the studio version?
Did I do it wrong?
I like it. I like keeping it
fresh.
Well,
I told you I haven't done it in a while, so maybe I didn't.
Was the plan always to put out a studio version, or did you wait and see how people responded to these other versions? You're like, I need to get in the studio and do this one.
Well, honestly, that was a little bit of it. I mean, we had the version with the Getty group. They have a big conference here in Nashville every September, and we just continued to just hear a lot of great feedback about the song, and so I decided it'd be cool to do a studio version that maybe could be a little more formatted, maybe for radio, and so we just ended up with a bunch of versions of it.
Yeah. So is this a one-off song, or are there more already in the works? Are you back in a writing mind state for later in the year?
That's a very good question. I definitely have written more songs, but with family and job at the church and writing music and still doing live events, I try to just keep, I know this sounds like the super spiritual answer, but I kind of keep open hands of, okay, Lord, what do you want me focusing on during this season? And so getting to get out there and tell people about the song "Come Unto Jesus" has been such a treat. I'm not sure how many others I can do at least this year, but this one's been really special. It's really resonated with me in a deep way. Kind of back to the intentionality about what we sing in church. As a worship leader at my church, I'm always wanting for us to. Whether to write songs or introduce songs that really seem to connect with a specific need or a specific just kind of theme that I'm seeing in people's struggles. And I think it probably, kind of began with the COVID thing, but has continued this idea of people feeling tired, feeling over busy, feeling maybe even just not feeling sufficient enough for the things that are in front of them. And so for me, it was being reminded of that call of Jesus in Matthew 11, that in the midst of everything that the world is telling us about who we need to be, Jesus is actually inviting us to not come to him and like be a great Christian. That's not the message of the gospel. It's come and bring your weariness. Come and bring your anxiety. Come and bring your hurt. And the line in the chorus just says, come into Jesus and rest in his love. Just this reminder that, the world can offer us maybe relief from our pain just for a moment. Or the world can offer us more than that, maybe distraction from our problems just for a moment. But Jesus is the only person that can truly offer us rest. He doesn't always do that by changing our circumstances, but he actually offers us a rest that we can deeply feel in the midst of our hard circumstances.
Yeah, something I've talked a lot with artists about over the past few months is the lyrics in Christian music are starting to get a little broader, a little wider. Mm-hmm. We're touching on some topics that haven't always been talked about. But you've always juggled this vulnerable songwriting with the praise and worship and finding radio success with it too. That's one of the issues when I talk to artists. They're like, well, Christian radio doesn't play story songs. But you've somehow found that balance of being able to get story songs on the radio. So how have you done that over the years?
No pun intended. No pun intended there. Okay, I'll try to give you the short story of it. So the label that I'm with, Fair Trade, is a wonderful group of people. And they began to talk to me about maybe partnering with them. This was, this is probably 15, 16 years ago. And they were going to come down to Atlanta, and we were all going to have dinner. It was on Friday night. The Wednesday before that, my husband was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And I remember calling them and saying, hey, thanks so much for wanting to do this, but I'm just not really at the place where I can even think about anything else, which they totally said, we understand. We still want to come down and have dinner with you just to pray over you guys and to hear more about what's going on. So probably, about 5 weeks later, Martin had surgery. And then we were in the hospital for about 3 months. And then after that, Martin was finally released, which was wonderful news, but it was very obvious that he still had some limitations that now, kind of looking back on it, I don't know if we fully understood then, but now we know he just is living with a brain injury. So it's just lasting effects. So a lot of things got better, but some things just stayed the same. And that's hard on a logistic level, but it's also hard on a spiritual level of understanding why a good and perfect God would allow brokenness to remain. And so it's in the midst of me wrestling with all of that the label calls me up again and says, hey, have you thought at all about doing this? And I'm like, no, I'm not the person you want to be writing songs right now. And then about 3 months later, they called again. And I remember saying something like, I am at the shakiest place that I've ever been in my faith. I just don't think I'm the person to write songs for you guys right now. And basically their response was, no, that's exactly why we want you to. Because that is, most people don't live on the mountaintop. Most people live, in the valley where things are hard and things are shaky. And I think maybe even in that moment, they saw something in me at the time that I didn't see in myself, which, it's completely the Lord just working through the gifting that he had given me. But I was able to write, that's the super long answer to how so my whole ministry has been me writing from a really vulnerable place, because I don't think it was coincidence that God gave me a national platform at the same time that he was allowing my husband and I to walk through the deepest brokenness we'd ever walked through. And for whatever reason, those two have kind of continued to be intertwined over the years.
Yeah, it's good. And it's kept you on the same label too. We sit here today, you're still a Fair Trade.
Yeah, they're good people. There's like all their rock bands, Phil Wickham and all Newsboy, whoever they have. And then there's me, like little singer-songwriter.
Just throw the guitar in the car and go. You don't need the full band, don't need the full production.
That's exactly it.
Talking about the production, what's the tour plans for the rest of the year? I saw a few dates out there. Is there more
Yeah,
coming?
we're always doing fun stuff, and how touring looks for me is a little bit different because I still work full time at the church, so it's about every other weekend I'm out somewhere. We're everywhere, California, New York, all over the place.
Yeah.
We just got back from doing some stuff in Ireland and UK, and just a lot of fun.
Yeah. We've got you in this mindset now where you're ready to write 3-minute songs. Are you back in a mindset where you're ready to write a big, thick book yet again?
You know, at some point, maybe. At some point, I think it'd still be great. There's still a lot that I'm wanting to write in the area of worship, and so hopefully that'll be the next thing that I get to write.
Yeah, maybe when some kids graduate high school, you'll have time to do all this.
I know. I have a preteen now, which I just no one told me that, like, it starts before. I always thought, like, hey, teenage years, I'm worried. No one told me it starts a little bit earlier than that, and she's a sweetheart. But yeah, every age, every new age, there's a lot to get adjusted with. But they're great kids.
As you travel with your family, do you have your kids ready to be background singers and techs and all that, or are they ready to get far away from music?
That's a great question. No, I have some that I have one that's one of my twins is going to start drum lessons in the fall, and my daughter Josie is taking guitar and piano. So yeah, they're little budding musicians. Sometimes they're really interested, and sometimes they're like, oh, that's mom's thing. Yeah. But this summer, when we were traveling a good bit with some music stuff, and then some just vacation, but we were gone a month, and I let them bring a backpack. And so I said, you can bring whatever you want that can fit in your little backpack. And I was really impressed how well they did. So they're ready. They're ready for road life.
Yeah, I love it. Well, good hanging out with you today. You can go stream the new song now, and if you like the studio version, request it on your radio station, but also go back and listen to a couple other versions that are out there, the live version and the acoustic version, also out there on all your streaming services.